Everyone. We're doing an emergency mini mock draft today. Hadn't planned on this, but the news of the day sort of dictates that we talk about this because there has been a major shakeup at the top of the NFL draft for 2021. 3 teams have made trades today, and we now have a new draft order. So the day began with the 49ers trading all the way up to the number 3 overall pick with the Miami Dolphins, who moved down to 12. They gave up a couple of future first-round picks to do that. There was a couple other picks mixed in there with that bundle. We're not going to go over every single, specific detail of this, just the important things. And that is the 49ers now own the 3rd overall pick in the NFL draft. The Dolphins weren't done after that. About an hour and a half later, they decided to move back up another 6 spots, trading up with the Philadelphia Eagles. So the Dolphins now have the 6th overall pick, as well as the 18th overall pick in this draft. That hasn't been touched so far. And the Eagles have moved all the way down to 12, which I thought was pretty surprising, but that is where it stands today. So a couple of things before we begin our mini mock draft with our new order. If you're a Vikings fan, this means a couple of things. Number one, it means that the Kirk Cousins rumors to San Francisco were both real and are now dead. So I don't anticipate Jimmy Garoppolo being the starting quarterback of the 49ers for very much longer, definitely not week 1 of this season, because this roster for the 49ers is built to win now with all of the players they'll be having returned from injury. And you cannot convince me that the 49ers did not trade up to this position, sacrificing all of the future draft capital that they did to do this for somebody other than a quarterback. It would be hilarious if it was Kyle Pitts, and I would actually applaud them for having the brass balls to do that. But this is going to be a quarterback, whichever one doesn't get picked at 1 and 2. Also, what this means for the Minnesota Vikings is that, as we already discussed, the Kirk Cousins trade to the San Francisco 49ers is likely dead now. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the other quarterback in the draft, Mac Jones, because I still anticipate 4 quarterbacks going in the top 10, right? Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, and Trey Lance. For some reason, there's been a discussion, an ascension of Mac Jones' draft stock since the national championship game. I don't know what it is. He feels like the millennial version of Brad Johnson, but it looks like we're going to be having the discussion of who is going to trade up to get Mac Jones, if it's going to be somebody like the Washington football team, the New England Patriots. So if you're a Vikings fan, you're rooting for that to happen, because that means another non-quarterback player slips down the board to you as a potential draft choice at number 14. So for this mini mock draft, with all those things in mind, I'm not going to predict any trades. We'll do another full first round mock draft video later on where we do some trades. But for right now, I just want to attack this with the order as it currently is. Will it stay like this? I doubt it. I think the Carolina Panthers, the Denver Broncos could be on the move. And it also depends on who falls, because if we get a situation where a Jalen Waddle or a Kyle Pitts is falling further than expected, expect some phone calls to be made. So we begin with the 1st overall pick. The Jacksonville Jaguars are still taking Trevor Lawrence. I'm probably never going to remove that nameplate from that position, because there is just no earthly way to entertain any other sort of scenario where they take somebody that's not named Trevor Lawrence. As I've said before in previous videos, expect the rumors to pop up about Justin Fields and the Jaguars because of the Urban Meyer Ohio State connection. It's all nonsense. It's going to be nonsense when it happens. I'm surprised it hasn't happened already, but we still have a month to go before this takes place. The analysts and the anchors at ESPN are going to get bored, and they're going to make shit up, and that's probably going to be one of the things that we see happen, so be on the lookout for that. With the number 2 overall pick, BYU's Pro Day was today, and according to reports, it looks like Zach Wilson is locked in to this draft spot with the New York Jets, and it also sounds like that Sam Darnold is going to be available in a trade for very cheap over the next month. So Zach Wilson is going to be the pick at number 2 overall, BYU quarterback. Next, we have the San Francisco 49ers, and as we just discussed, I think it would be hilarious if this was something other than a quarterback, but because of the premium that they paid, I don't believe it's going to be anything but a quarterback. Now, there's a debate about whether or not it could be Trey Lance or Justin Fields. I could see that, but as I said at the opening of this video, this 49ers team is built to win right now. They're getting a significant number of players back from injury. They're going to have a year with an actual off season for the rookies that didn't get it last year. Kyle Shanahan is a really good head coach, really good offensive play caller. John Lynch is a general manager who will be able to figure out what else this team needs to plug holes to make this thing a championship contender once again. And I think the most competitive, pro-ready quarterback left at this position in the draft is Justin Fields. The slander about him that I'm seeing on social media is absurd. There are rumors that there are teams that value Justin Fields as a fourth-round draft pick. And if I ever figure out who you are, God help you, because that's just absolutely 100% absurd. So Justin Fields is the pick at number 3 overall. 49ers trade up to get to their quarterback of the future. And that leaves a big question. What do the Falcons do with the 4th overall pick? Now, there's been some talk early on after all of these trades have been placed that they either need to take a quarterback or they need to trade out of this pick to get maximum value for it, which I can understand. Here's the thing, though. The last couple of teams that want to trade up for a quarterback in the top 10, if you don't want to trade down too far, are the Denver Broncos and the Carolina Panthers. Realistically, you are not entertaining any deals with an interdivisional rival, so the Carolina Panthers are out. This whole thing screws Carolina so bad because there's very few options left for them to move up to get one of these quarterbacks, So I don't see that happening. So for this selection, as I've said, we're not doing trades today. I'm going to stick with my gut and say that Kyle Pitts will be the selection here at number 4 overall to the Atlanta Falcons. Moving on to the Cincinnati Bengals, we're going to go with, the player that I had for them in the last mock draft that I did, and what a great scenario this is for the Bengals. You basically have your choice other than Kyle Pitts, of any of the players that you could have wanted. Penei Sewell is available. Jamar Chase is available. Penei Sewell is tempting. The Riley Reef signing in free agency makes me believe that they might be set at the offensive tackle position. Riley Reef, Jonah Williams. Could they get Penei Sewell still? Absolutely they could. But I'm going to go with Jamar Chase, wide receiver from LSU. Stick with the original pick that I had 2 weeks ago. And maybe this changes somewhere down the road. So now we have the Miami Dolphins at the 6th overall pick. And in my first video, I had, or not my first mock draft, but in mock draft 3.0 that I posted 2 weeks ago, I had them trading down to the 8th overall selection with the Carolina Panthers. So I was close. And in that video, I had them taking this same player because I said, wow, they're going to trade down and still get the guy that they probably could have just had at number 3 overall. And that's going to be Penei Sewell, the best offensive tackle in the class from Oregon. So I think that is the route that the Dolphins are currently looking at, especially if Jamar Chase and Kyle Pitts are both off the board by the 6th overall selection. The decision will basically be made for them. Next, we have the Detroit Lions, and wide receiver is still the top of my priority list for them, and I think that's the route they're going to go, but I'm going to change it up a little bit because I've heard reports that, especially after Penn State's Pro Day, where Micah Parsons put on a hell of a show, that the Lions have had several conversations / meetings with Micah Parsons. So I'm going to go that route, that Micah Parsons is the pick at number 7 overall to the Detroit Lions. It makes sense. Dan Campbell is one of those guys that, of course, we all know from his introductory press conference that he's super macho into football, talking about biting kneecaps and Freddy Krueger shit. I don't know what else ever he said. So yeah, Micah Parsons, number 7 overall to the Detroit Lions. Next, in this scenario for the Panthers, they luck out because they still get their quarterback. And that's going to be Trey Lance from North Dakota State University. Will they probably have to trade up to secure him? Yeah, likely. Where could they do that? Boy, right here, Falcons, you're going to probably pay a premium for this because it's going to be the last quarterback left other than Mac Jones. You might be able to swing one here. You're definitely not doing it here because the Dolphins are where they want to be. Lions, I don't think they have any interest in going up one unless you really sell them on the idea. So there's a couple options, but if you want to move up to here where it's likely they're going to have to, you're going to be paying quite a price for that. Next, we move on to the Broncos. And at this point, I'm not sure what to do here. The Broncos have a really good roster. They really need a quarterback. I think at this point, they would probably trade down. So, you get Kyle Fuller, who gets cut by the Bears. You still have a really good wide receiver room in Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler. Do you get another wide receiver? You just took one last year. I don't believe in the sunk cost fallacy, but at this point, really what you're doing is you're drafting best player available and you're going for value. You've basically filled your needs in free agency, so why not go for the best value available? Now, I don't know if they're going to go into the season with Drew Lock. This is the first draft pick really that is tough. So, but I'm going to go with, and Broncos fans probably won't like this, but I'm going to go with another guy that had a really good pro day that probably solidified him as the best defensive back in the draft this year because of that pro day and just because of his accomplishments at Alabama. And it's going to be Patrick Surtain. Now, yeah, Kyle Fuller, Ronald Darby, they're both in the building via free agency this year, but the Dolphins did something similar the previous year where they sort of loaded up at corner. Igben Ogani was one of their first round picks. They signed that other corner from the Cowboys whose name escapes me at this moment. So why not sort of replicate that process? And that's sort of my logic behind this draft pick year right here. So loaded cornerback room for Denver going in the next season. Cowboys, they would have liked to have had Patrick Surtain. I think the medical news about Caleb Farley kind of scares me. But there was another corner that I think could jettison into the top 10 because of a pro day. Sort of recency bias, popping up here, but because I didn't have him this high in the last draft that I did, but I guess I'll go ahead and do it here. J.C. Horn, cornerback from South Carolina. Cowboys, it wouldn't surprise me if they decided to just Jerry Jones this and go with Devontae Smith or Jalen Waddle, who are both available. It wouldn't surprise me in the least. But here I'm going to go with J.C. Horn and actually address a need and get some good value here. I'm already second guessing this pick, even though it's already on the board. But this is what happens when you're doing a live reaction to a new situation. Next, we have the Giants at 11 overall. I still think that they need offensive line help and to replace Kevin Zeitler. And I think there is the perfect guy on the board to do it. Somebody that is listed as a tackle, but has the athletic traits and physical traits to move inside and play guard. And that is Rashawn Slater, the tackle from Northwestern. Now, the Eagles. Boy, Eagles fans, you lucked out. Based on this, you're still going to get one of those top-tier wide receivers, and we're going to give you one of the Alabama guys, which, other than Jamar Chase, the two Alabama guys are the top tier. So here you go, Eagles fans. I don't know how you managed to pull this off, but Jalen Waddle is your new playmaker at wide receiver for this draft. Next, we have the Chargers at 13 overall. What are we going to give them? They could use offensive line help. Could use another wide receiver. That wouldn't hurt because, Keenan Allen and Mike Williams are pretty good. You did lose Hunter Henry. There's no real tight end here that's of any good value. Pat Freiermuth is a day 2 pick, in my opinion. Let's just swing for the fences, right? Because I don't want to be in a scenario where I have to seriously contemplate this guy being a member of the Minnesota Vikings, because I don't think Mike Zimmer would be on board with this idea. But we're going to go with Devontae Smith, the wide receiver from Alabama. And then next for the Minnesota Vikings, who most of you are here for, they still get a really good player despite all of these changes at the top of the draft ahead of them. And it kind of bums me out because if Rick Spielman had more balls, he probably could have pulled off a similar trade and moved up to number 3 overall, but he likes Kirk Cousins too much. But in this scenario, he gets Christian Darrisaw, offensive tackle from Virginia Tech. That is the mini emergency mock draft. I'm questioning this J.C. Horn pick as every second goes by in this video, and I know I'm going to get ripped for it in the comments, but spur of the moment, this without really any prep, this is the top 14 after all of the trades that we experienced today. So, a lot can change. And as I said, Vikings fans, if you really want to get another one of these players up here, you are rooting for another team to trade above us to get Mac Jones. That will push another guy down. You could end up with Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle, Patrick Surtain, anything is possible. The only reason I left Caleb Farley out of the top 14, just as a side note here before we go, is the recent medical things that have popped up about him. So I'm on the fence about where to put him now in future drafts. So the next time we do this, we'll do a full first round mock draft and with some trades, and he will be included. That's going to do it for this video. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I will see you in the next one.